Welcome to the Scorezle Podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories from the world's top athletes to help young players and their families achieve their dreams. Today, we're excited to welcome a very special guest, Olympian, world champion, and professional volleyball star, Sarah Pavan. Sarah's journey in volleyball began at just 10 years old, and by age 16, she was already representing Canada on the national stage. From indoor volleyball to becoming one of the top players in beach volleyball, Sarah's dedication, resilience, and passion have taken her to incredible heights.
Look, this that Scorezle magic, nothing average. If you can dream it, then you can have it. On and off the field, you know the deal. Keep your head in the game and you rise for real. Go.
Welcome to the Scorezle Podcast. This is where we bring you inspiring stories from the world's top athletes to help young players and their families. Today, we are thrilled to have Sarah Pavan, an Olympic volleyball player and world champion. But beyond her incredible professional career, Sarah's journey offers invaluable lessons for anyone looking to balance sports, school, and life. So, Sarah, thank you for being on the program.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Let's get back to the beginning. You started volleyball at the age of 10 and even joined the national team by age 16. An incredible achievement. I've got to imagine there were a lot of challenges along the way. What was it like being a young athlete with such big dreams?
Wow, hitting me with the big ones right off the start. Okay. I think it was an age. I distinctly remember, watching the 92 Olympics with my parents and asking them, like, what are the Olympics? At that time, I was 5 years old. And I just asked them, like, what are the Olympics? And they explained to me, like, that's where the best athletes in the world go every 4 years. And I just told them, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And they were like, okay, like, what are you supposed to say to a 5-year-old? Like, no. So they're like, yeah, okay, like, that's cute. But like, I was serious. So everything I did from that point on, that was always in my mind. Maybe a little strange, maybe like hyper focused on a goal for such a young age, but I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to play pro sports, pro volleyball. I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics. And yeah, everything I did was with that in mind.
That's excellent. Now, I don't know if your parents coached volleyball, but how did they make a positive impact on your game? How did they keep you grounded as you were trying to compete at the highest level, even as a teenager?
So I did grow up in a volleyball family. My mom was on our indoor national team as well. And both of my parents played in university. My dad was actually my coach when I was a kid, from when I started until I left for college. So I almost started laughing with how did they keep you grounded? I don't think I heard much positive feedback or reinforcement growing up. Um, it was my mom was pretty hands off. I have a younger sister as well, but my dad and I were together all the time in the gym, and the messaging that I was constantly receiving was like, not good enough. You can be better. Like, you can work harder. So I mean, as a kid, you don't know any different, so you think that that's normal. And obviously, as I grew up and matured, I realized, like, it's not. And he, in particular, kind of reinforced the ideas that I had in my head of, like, yeah, if I want to achieve this goal, I do have to be better. I do have to work harder. I'm not good enough. And it honestly wasn't until I made our senior women's national team when I was 16 that I was like, oh, maybe I'm actually good at this, which is crazy. Like, I was clearly good, but it was, yeah, I didn't know.
Now, just to follow up on that, you say that wasn't normal, but look what it drove you to achieve. And so for the youth parents that are out there and they're listening, was that the best approach to motivate you and drive you, or should parenting been done a little bit differently?
I don't disagree with you that it did help me become the athlete that I am. And my dad and I have had numerous conversations about this in recent years, so it's not taboo in my family or anything, but You know, in I've also coached young kids and in working with young women, you can tell if a kid is innately driven and has that internal motivation, and you can tell who doesn't. And I think for kids like myself who are incredibly internally motivated, self-critical, exhibited perfectionist tendencies, I didn't need the like driving me into the ground. Whereas there are kids who, maybe their attention gets diverted and they need to be like guided onto a path. Like I think those kids, maybe have to be kept in line a little more. But for kids who have that innate desire and self-critic in them, they're already telling themselves that. They don't need that reinforced because it's already a challenge to overcome that when you're like that.
That's great insight, Sarah. Taking that to the next level, what do you what do you believe to be the balance for parents between pushing and supporting, right? Where is that central ground in your opinion?
Oh, that's a hard question. Drawing on my own experience, I think the thing that I appreciate so much about my parents is that there were times when I was suffering. There were times that things were very challenging. For example, I am incredibly introverted. I'm a quiet person as a kid, even more so. I hated being away from home, but my aspirations and what I was doing was taking me across the country away from my family, oftentimes with people that were much older than me. It was a very uncomfortable situation. And I would call home and I would say, like, I don't think I can do this. Can I please come home? And the question my dad would always ask me is like, you can come home if you want, but is coming home going to help you achieve your goals? And then I'd get so mad because it's like, well, no, it's not. Shoot, I have to stay. Um,
Yes.
and it wasn't until much later that my mom told me I would hear your conversations with your dad and I would be sobbing in the background because like I knew you were suffering and I wanted to help you, but I also knew that if you wanted this, you needed to stay. There is a balance, and I think that as parents, and again, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to this with any experience, but as parents, I can imagine that the instinct is to avoid suffering for your children and to make sure that they are always safe and happy and taken care of. But I will say that being allowed to struggle and fighting through that on my own made me so much more resilient and it made it very clear what I wanted. My parents, they protected me to an extent, but when it came to like sports and driving myself and what do I want, they allowed me to struggle. And in the moment, I hated them, but looking back, I'm very grateful for that.
Along those same lines, Sarah, changing gears a little bit, but when we're thinking of maybe injury or losing streaks with young athletes, how can parents help these athletes stay motivated during tough times?
Honestly, I think, all athletes at some point have undergone struggle and it's very rare. It's not as common that that athletes, especially pros, like are honest about those experiences. But I think having those role models and examples of people who have overcome a difficult time, who have come out the other side stronger are really helpful because even as an adult, like seeing people, if I'm struggling with something and know that I'm not alone in that experience, it makes it so much easier to buckle down and work harder. So, injuries as a young kid, I was fortunate enough not to have any. I can't imagine how difficult that is, especially like it's sports that are often a social circle for kids. And to be removed from that can be incredibly difficult. I think even if your kid is hurt, like allowing them to go to practice, even if they can't play, like still engage with the team because being a part of a team is so much more than what is put on the court. It is a social thing. It is a place of support. And so it makes me sad when kids are injured and that you just don't see them at practice for a month. Like, show up anyways. We all love you.
I couldn't agree more. Just that support element, be there, support the team, be with them. Because again, to your point, that's their social circle. So thank you for that, Sarah.
Sarah, I want to talk about two big transitions in your life and in your career. Um, and I think about kiddos that in that social circle, they may have to move across town or to a different area and pick up sports. You went from Canada to the University of Nebraska.
Mhm.
What was that like, and how did you overcome any anxiety moving to a different country? What was that like, and how did you make that transition?
It was hard. I mean, going to college is a transition for anybody, regardless, even if it's down the street, things are different. You're not living at home necessarily. So I walked in and it was preseason for volleyball. So I had a built-in sort of network being around my team and heading into like preseason training. I didn't have time to think about things then. I started struggling when school started, when it became clear that I couldn't just like, even though I'm around my teams, I need to make relationships outside of that and to feel really, I was feeling very alone. Because at that time I didn't have any friends outside of volleyball. I didn't really know the city very well. I didn't know the ropes. So I actually did call home again, like a couple months into it, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I think I think I need to get out of here. And my dad again said, if that is what you want, I will come and get you. You will come home, but you're not like, do you want to still play pro? The answer was yeah. Do you think
Mm.
playing for a school in Canada is going to help you do that? It was like, no. So I stayed. And honestly, it was like in the blink of an eye, I started making friends. And then it got to the point I didn't even want to go home because I just felt
Mhm.
so
Right.
at home there at Nebraska. But that initial transition was challenging. So giving it time and really allowing myself to see if it worked paid off big time. I would have regretted that decision forever if I had
Right.
left.
Now, a second transition that you made in your career was from indoor volleyball to beach volleyball. So,
Yeah.
is there anything from your childhood upbringing, your experiences that made that successful? And how'd you overcome any doubt as you went to the beach?
There was a lot of doubt, there was a lot of tears. I made the transition when I was 26. I was married, and so you hear of beach volleyball and indoor volleyball, you're like, "Oh, yeah, same thing, you're just outside for one." That is not true, and I was naive enough to be one of the people who are like, "Easy." So, as I was, like, trying to learn this sport and having to completely start from scratch, I was terrible. And the only reason I made the switch was to try to go to the Olympics. Like, the indoor team in Canada was just not there at that time. And I looked at my husband several times, especially during that first season, and I was like, "Did I just commit career suicide? Was this the biggest mistake I've ever made?" And he was like, "We will not know that. You have not made any mistakes, but if you don't see this through, at least for until the Olympics, you will regret not knowing forever." He's like, "You need to do this." So it was hard and it took a while to get the wheels turning, but obviously I found my way and yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Sarah, switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about sportsmanship. So here at Scorezle, sportsmanship is one of our core values. And you mentioned earlier that you teach, coach, mentor children. So how do you teach young athletes the importance of sportsmanship?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I feel this is tough because I was a kid who was incredibly introverted, but like sports was sort of my vehicle of self-expression. It allowed me to come out of my shell and I was hyper competitive. And so oftentimes that was perceived as being like too aggressive or not sportsmanlike or whatever. But it was just truly, I felt free to fully express myself. So I feel like there's a fine line there because you don't want to hold kids back from expressing their competitive drive, their intensity, their desire to win. And I think if it's directed in a productive way, meaning just, towards themselves, towards excitement at doing something well, towards their teammates and celebrating their teammates' achievements, that's one thing. I think the line needs to be drawn if that type of energy is maybe directed to others on another team. And so I think it just needs to be a constant conversation. And I don't think kids necessarily need to be reprimanded or scolded if it is observed a couple times. I think it's worth a conversation. And even just being like, "Oh, I observed this reaction from you at this point. What was going through your mind at that time?" And allow them to express themselves in what they were feeling. If they were like, "Oh, I wanted that guy to know that, like, I'm better than him." Oh, well, okay, let's talk about that. But if it was like, "I was frustrated with myself because I made a mistake," well, then that's different. And so I think jumping to conclusions about a kid's intention, if they do show overly competitive spirit, I don't think it's good to crush that. I think it's better to understand where it's coming from.
Great advice. Thanks, Sarah. And, really with your incredible journey, if you could leave young athletes with one message, what would that message be?
I would say that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many things you do right, there will always be people who are critical. So it's important to only listen to the voices of people that you truly love and care about because you're never going to make everybody happy. So be very careful about who you choose to let into your sphere of influence because if you pay attention to everybody, it will drive you crazy.
All right, Sarah. We're gonna have a little bit of fun here. We call
Ooh,
this section Kids Corner.
I feel the take, hold on, here we go. Learning below. And tricks from the best, get ready, but still.
Okay, so
okay.
I'm gonna send you some rapid fire, quick questions, quick answers for the young Scorezle fans out there. All right. So before a match, what's your favorite pregame meal?
Pasta. Pasta, put a little chicken breast on it with like red sauce. You got to get that energy. You got to get the quick
Red sauce.
energy.
Making me
You
hungry.
make me hungry.
Yes.
All right, Sarah. What's the better feeling? The perfect set, spike, or serve?
Can I add a different option and say block?
Yes, you can.
Getting a good block on somebody is the best feeling, in my opinion.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. If you act in alignment with your values, then you don't have to answer to anybody.
You're getting pumped up for your next match. What music, favorite song are you listening to?
Let's just say anything DMX.
DMX. DMX.
DMX,
All right.
nice.
All right. So what's one volleyball drill? Again, you're talking to the kids. What should they master to be a great volleyball player?
Serving and passing.
Excellent. Excellent.
Sarah, we know that you support youth athletes through the recruiting process. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I work with several athletes, just the kids who want to pursue volleyball in college. It can be a very intimidating process and very confusing. So, I enjoy helping athletes and young athletes and their families sort of get through the difficulties and try to help them find a place that makes sense and is a good fit for them. And so there's a lot of questions and just to be able to make that process a little easier on kids is something that I really value because volleyball has given me so much and it makes me so excited when kids want to pursue it at the next level.
That's great. And how can our audience, Sarah, learn more about that?
Probably on my website. It's nextlvlconsulting.com. And yeah, there's a lot of information there, and I just love connecting with young volleyball players.
That's great. That's great. That's amazing. We truly appreciate and respect everything that you have done throughout your journey, throughout your career, and what you're doing today with giving back to the next generation. So, we have something special for you, Sarah. So, what we would love to do is welcome you into the Scorezle family with your very own Scorezle card.
Mm.
You've demonstrated throughout your career courage, teamwork, sportsmanship, and we're honored to present you with this card. So I'm going to pull this up. Love to get your reaction. And if you approve, we want to put this card on our next production run. So let me pull this up for you here. The suspense, I'm sorry.
I'm nervous.
All right, here we go.
Oh my gosh. Those are even my sunglasses. Are you kidding me?
Sarah Spike. What do you think of your card, Sarah?
It is so cute and it looks like me. I love it. Oh my gosh. I didn't know what to expect. This is better than I could have imagined. That's great.
Yeah, so we'll definitely get you a copy as long as we get your thumbs
A
up and
hundred
we
percent.
put it in the production run.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And really, Sarah, what this card represents, it's not just your amazing, tremendous athleticism and career. It's more so the values that you possess, the journey that you've been on, and really for the next generation youth athletes to look at this card, think of you, and really harness their own belief and understanding that whatever they believe in, they can achieve as long as they give 100%. Welcome to the Scorezle family, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's awesome. So I appreciate you asking me to be on.
Thanks, Sarah. Is there anything else that
Mm.
you would like to share with our audience?
Well, like you guys, I recently started a podcast kind of diving into NCAA and international volleyball, more of like a commentary opinion type thing. Not interviews, but if there are listeners out there who really love NCAA volleyball and want to get into the weeds and the nitty-gritty with me, then you can follow my podcast, Volley Talk with Sarah Pavan.
Thank you, Sarah. And we'll share that on videos for others to see as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Scorezle podcast. You've shared some incredible insights, and I know that our listeners, both kids and parents, are walking away inspired. So thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you. I had a great time.
Wow. What an inspiring conversation with Sarah Pavan. Remember, you can collect Sarah Spike's Scorezle card to keep a piece of that magic with you and hear her story every time you need inspiration. Be sure to also check out her podcast, Volley Talk, for even more volleyball insights. And now, let's listen to Sarah Spike's Scorezle card song, celebrating her strength, teamwork, and the inspiration she brings to athletes everywhere. Remember, the magic is already within you.
Sarah Spike, yeah, she's taking her place. Right side blocker, ain't no stopping her pace. She's a beast on the court, fear in her eyes. Rising with power, yeah, watch her rise. Let's go, Sarah Spike, she's here to win. Yeah, explosive in her blood, she's ready to begin. Strong, fierce, she's got that might. Let's get it, inspiring kids to hit new heights. Yeah. Sand to the floor, she's taking them down. Canada's queen, wearing that crown. Right side block, she's got that slam. Sarah Spike breaking through like bam. Come on, from the sand to the floor, she's taking them down. Canada's queen, wearing that crown. Right side block, she's got that slam. Sarah Spike breaking through like bam. Come on, Sarah Spike, she's here to win. Yeah, with Scorezle in her blood, she's ready to begin. Strong, fierce, she's got that might. Let's get it. Inspiring kids to hit new heights. Yeah, she's a legend on the rise. Scorezle got the best, no compromise. Sarah Spike, lead the way. For the kids coming up, she's showing them the play. Sarah Spike, she's here to win. Yeah, with Scorezle in her blood, she's ready to begin. Strong, fierce, she's got that might. Let's get it. Inspiring kids to hit new heights. them down. Canada's queen, wearing that crown. Right side block, she's got that slam. Sarah Spike breaking through like bam. Come on. Sarah Spike, she's here to win. Yeah. Scorezle in the blood, she's ready to begin. Yeah, she's a legend on the rise. Scorezle's got the best, no compromise. Sarah Spike lead the way for the kids coming up. She's showing them the play. What? Sarah Spike, let's go. She's got the game in control. What? Right side blocker, unstoppable might.